Hi, welcome back to the Kenny Veach mcave mystery. Today we have a new, interesting, important observation to make regarding the covered up mcave, as within arguably recent time SB Vega's adventures going out there over the past few months, hiking about, including I think Skull Canyon, which was incorporated with passing by the set of caves which were documented by Sean Horlacher in 2019 and before, and of course, Kenny Veach, right? Regarding Kenny Veach trying to find the M cave once again. And ever since, other hikers have tried locating it, but have failed. The only one that's been in question back and forth is the covered up looking M cave. And it has been questioned, right? Some think it's the cave, others think it's completely natural rock formation. But regardless of that, there has been activity at the area by an unknown individual or an unknown group who have gone down there and secretly tried accessing, getting into the supposed M cave, right? Briefly documented it in the past, but we've got some more relevant, up-to-date footage of the area. As you know, not many hikers go there, so when there is levels of activity, you know, the focus, the concentration, the mystery, intrigue and suspicion is heightened. You know, it rises. The questions, trying to figure out what's going on. And that's what we're going to be looking at today regarding SB Vega's adventures, visit out there, what he documented, the missing rock on the side of the covered up M cave, trying to relocate it. I'll be sharing my thoughts, opinions and analysis on the matter, comparing and contrasting to 2019 footage by Sean Horlacher to, I think it's 2022 footage by SB, okay? And see if we can get to the bottom of it. As we do go along in this video, welcome if you are currently in the live premiere, I appreciate it. Make sure to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the chat box on the right hand side, okay? And as well, if you wish to, check out my previous video as well as my earlier video today. There will be links down below for you to check. Make sure to check them out after watching this video. And also, in today's video, make sure to stick around so you fully understand the picture and that you can also see the comments later on, because, you know, I need to check out the comments of the last video. There's talks about a possible new M cave hiker going out there. So we need to get to the bottom of that, try and understand where things are at and who may be going out there next time, okay? There's a lot to get through today. Make sure to stick around. Now, let me provide to you just a little backstory of the last known activity out there around Jomay Canyon, right? So, it was by SB Vega's adventures. In the past, months ago, sometime in 2022, he went to the mine shaft where Kenny Veach stood. Same place where a few hikers have been themselves. Sean, Jeff Claw, Scott Natal, etc. A couple of them have gone in, and SB did himself. But there was a visible difference, and that's the entrance, the opening to the mine shaft was covered up with like a board, wood, planks, whatever you call it, right? That is done, I guess, to ensure safety. You don't want animals or people falling down into it. But my question is, why from 2014 to 2022, up to a certain point, why was it left open? And then of course, before 2014, all those years back, it's been left open and exposed for quite some time. So why now all of a sudden does someone decide to cover it up? Now, it wasn't nailed down, there was no signs added, so you could say it was an amateur job. SB was able to get in without really using much force or, you know, effort. So who did that? Who caused it? We still don't know. Questions ongoing. maybe we need to do a follow-up video down the line just to get that noise, get that awareness going, because obviously not enough people know about it. Although the Kenny Veach mcave case is quite important and a lot of people watch it, a lot of people will watch the rejects and the part-time YouTubers who only do a half-hearted covering of the case without using any relevant information, without acknowledging any research by me or SB or Jeff Clark or Scott Natal or Sean or Jay Silverheels or Jay Chuck, which is completely forgotten about. Very ignorant, arrogant behavior by the majority of humans. It's pathetic, it's disappointing. Okay, so that's why awareness needs to be spread, and that's through consistency, frequency, and repetition, just like with the Dylan Rounds case, all under control. So you got a brief backstory behind the latest change to the environment out there, but as well, going side by side maybe, would be the covered up M-shaped cave, which is approaching Pitcher Canyon, probably just before that part, okay? And we need to look at that today to find additional answers, right? Try and get a closer understanding of what's going on. Now, the order of how this video is going to play out, okay? I'm going to share with you a short clip by SB Vega's Adventures point of view, what he saw, his comments about it, okay? And then once we've done that, I'll transition into the photos and I'll analyze each one and give you my thoughts and opinions. As said, they'll be comparing contrast to past photos and more recent ones. And I do also have a side-by-side photo as well, which highlights a few points of interest. So make sure to stick around. Let's now get into the footage of this M-cave hike by SB.
As what some have said is the covered up M-cave. They said, oh, the M-cave's been found, but it's covered up. And right there. And it almost looks like somebody was here and chipped away on a rock. Was that you, Jay Chuck? I don't see the rock, but that was chipped away. But here is where somebody looks like may have chipped away some of the rock, and there it is. Is this a covered M cave? You can see up close this material that people say is the covered M cave. Here's a piece of rock that's been chipped away. That's a crack or crevice. It doesn't really go in.
So after watching that clip by SB, you know, he did a good job recording it, filming the stability, the quality. I only wanted to show just a portion of it, the key highlight of this video. If you would like to check out the rest of his footage and other videos, make sure to go on SB Vega's Adventures channel. I will provide a link down below in the pinned comments for you to follow up on that. Credit to SB for, you know, allowing this public footage so people can see what the area looks like in more recent time. Okay. So first slide, we've got like a front shot of this M-shaped cave. Now, granted, it might not look like an M-shaped cave, but it just depends at what time, what year you look at it. Because with time, it's kind of changed in colour. The rocks have aged as well with time. Vegetation has come and gone, maybe more overgrown now than beforehand, possibly. And if the odd rock has changed or moved about, it might seem harder to, you know, recollect one's thoughts. That's why we're doing a comparison today. And, you know, when you look at it straight away, it might not look much. It's when you look up closer and, you know, you start seeing like cracks or gaps. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle. Granted, people are saying it's natural rock formation, though there are still other hardliners that believe it is a covered up cave and it's the M cave, right? I guess the key focus and message of today's video is, regardless of the outcome, it's evident that someone or some people have visited this place secretly, not told anyone, not recorded it, and investigated themselves. And what it does highlight is you're not the only one out there, possibly. And as well, who knows if they'll ever return, or if other people come down the line, what will they do next, right? That's why you got to monitor this stuff, because you never know what's around the corner, right? So We just move on to the next slide. As for a reference point, this is the same exact cave or supposed looking cave rock formation. People with time have said, oh, it looks different. It's a different one. No, I can guarantee to you with high confidence and certainty that what we see on screen here is exactly what you see there. The only difference is this photo from the video of Sean Horlacker's hike out there was 2019. This is 2022. So there will be a slight change visually to how the area looks. We can do a closer comparison later. Don't worry about that. When you look at it here, the camera is up close. It's a bit easier to see. You can definitely make out the cracks, the gaps, the odd openings such as there. Sean, I think, did try fitting his camera in, but it wouldn't go all the way. There have been talk over time suggesting if anyone was to go down here and visit, they should bring one of those long, thin camera sticks or something. I can't remember what the exact name is. Like a worm type camera, and you can shove it in and see how far it goes in. But I don't think no one's really tried that yet, which is a shame, but you know, maybe down the line. On the left, you kind of see Sean bent over, just like looking at the rocks up close. He did get sick, Sean, after he finished investigating this cave. Has anyone else? No, no one else has. But I'm just thinking, is it because Sean Horlacker was more hands-on with the cave compared to Aqua Chigger, compared to SB, compared to maybe Jeff, Jay Chuck, Jay Silverheels, etc.? Because in the video, Sean did put his hand right against the rock and even the side of his face. It was like he was trying to listen to any vibrations or any noises. And he might have tried sticking his face into one of the gaps as well. So although Sean could have become ill through heat exhaustion, being out there in the open, the heat, the temperature, etc., is there a possibility that if you get too close to this supposed cave, you could become ill? And the only reason why other hikers haven't is because they've not been as close as Sean has, like face to face with the wall, possibly. Has it got anything to do with spirituality? That's another side theory to this whole magical nature of the mcave, how it can appear and then disappear, and you've got to be spiritually in tuned with it at the time. There's a place and a moment. Though we can look into that in like a later video. Let's just continue on with the visualization and observations of this supposed cave. We move on to this slide. This is basically the side of this rock formation, okay? It's basically what you see there where Sean is. But this photo is from SB 2022. And you can quite clearly see the rock wall is exposed. Looks like it's crumbled away. Even those small little fragments can fall off as well, like when Sean was touching them. Where did that side of the rock wall go? What caused it to break away? Was it natural, weathering over time? Or was more physical, man-made force used to pull it away? But where would it go? That's still a mystery. All that rock-facing wall, it hasn't been found. Sean's concept was maybe they chipped it off and then put it on the side here, possibly. But if they did, they would have had to like sealed it and use some kind of special material. And Sean has said that, well, there is some of that seen at the bottom, the white seams, but other people have counted it and said that's just veins in the rock. But, you know, just want to talk it through to you so you get an idea of the backstory of this place and the previous discussions, okay? We move to this one. This is basically of the same thing, right? 2022, 2019. I would say it virtually looks the same, besides, you know, the camera angle being slightly more angled on this one. You know, you've got the side of the rock face there as it goes down. And you see like the lines on it and the gaps, like what you see there. Okay. So I'd say that hasn't really been disturbed since. Okay. Now, moving on to that one, this is just towards the bottom of that side rock wall. There is the side of the supposed covered cave. And the reason why I wanted to zoom on here is because of the possible stability of it. Okay, if it's natural rock and it's all fitted together, then why is this smaller piece of rock almost balanced on top of a stone? Almost like a circular stone. Is it resting upon it? It looks to be. And you can see. And then above it is a much bigger piece, right, which will obviously weigh more. But it just feels like it's balancing on it. I could be wrong. Just at least that part there. And as we see in 2019, the exact same. It's not moved. You see that there. That smaller circular rock underneath holding up the rock above. That's just the only part that doesn't seem natural to me. Just my opinion, okay? And I was just thinking, if anyone did go there, wouldn't it make sense to try and target the weakest point of that rock wall? Maybe it's harder than anticipated, but if you were able to somehow pull that little rock out, then maybe it could lead to things above crumbling down, right? You take out the support, like the foundation, and then it all crumbles on itself. You thought that would have been a possibility if someone or something did come on down to investigate. And as I said, it seems likely, but not at this angle. It's elsewhere, okay? Move on to the next slide. There you go, it's 2019. Here we go. Once again, we're looking at the face, the front of this rock wall, this structure. And when you look at it, maybe it depends on the angle, but basically where that circle is on the left and the right is where there's something missing. And you would have seen it in SB's footage earlier on in this video. It's all about the angle and as well the lighting. The better comparison, if we're talking about front facing before and after, would be, I think it's 2021, if I'm correct in saying, when Aquachigga went down. When Aquachigga was walking past here, he didn't even point out to it. I think he was completely blind. He literally just walked past, didn't even refer to it that much. And yet, because of the lighting and the colouring of the rock and the area where it was left exposed, it was brighter and lighter, which shone. It stood out more visually compared to what you see on the left-hand side. You see that boulder, that dark, blackish rock, right? So what you see in that circle is missing years on. It's not there. Where has it gone? That's the main question. The other question is who did it and exactly when did they do it and why did they do it? And then what did they do after that? Did they take anything away? Did they take any rock samples to maybe analyze in the labs or wherever they came from? Was it some kind of research, experiment, investigation? Was it casual or by authorities? Was it military or was it someone interested on YouTube or on Godlike Productions, GLP? Anyone know? Obviously, they've not come forwards yet. Will they ever? I don't know, because it's been talked about. It's against the law. You know, if you start taking items away or if you start moving the rocks, disturbing the land, you get in trouble for it. So if anyone is going to go down there to do whatever, they're not going to record themselves or they'll incriminate themselves. Not exactly a smart move. So I can understand that. But on a realistic level, it does create that mystery, right, of who did it and why. So, as for everything else, it seems to appear the same. Sure, vegetation might have come and gone with time. That's natural. As for the bottom here, the only thing I would say, and maybe it's just down to the angle, that looks a little bit different to that there. It could well be the angle, as said. Maybe it's the lighting, right, which exposes more than the other. But, you know, what I do want to say is, as we go through this video, feel free to leave timestamps of this video at any point if you notice any differences, okay? So like on screen right now, if you see that something has changed, been removed or added, make sure to point it out, okay? Of course, I've tried cropping the image down so it could actually fit on the screen, right? So I've tried making it as comparable as possible, okay? But yeah, really, aside from the missing rock, the only other difference I would say is the colouring of the rock, right? It's changed, but that's more natural. The only other thing to point out regarding that white seam was at the bottom there. Might not be clear on this one, but if you go on Sean Horlacker's mcave hike video, it will be clearer there. And it almost feels like a flat surface. It feels kind of smooth, and there's like a white line going across. Many people say it's natural, but I guess it depends how you look at it. You know, I can understand one point of view, the smoothness, the base of it, almost like a base of an entrance, a doorway, kind of like that. So that's, I guess, where the ideas have come from. So with that all in mind and focusing on this missing rock piece, what I do want to refer back to, as it kind of foreshadows the outcome, right, of in 2019, when Sean Horlacker was up close around this area, he did actually touch the rock. I'm going to play a clip to you right now of it, and this is what he had to say about it.
And this rock, and this rock, this one right here, is loose. I can move it. This one moves. You can't really see it, but it's moving up a little. These little bugs are all over me. I'm not supposed to be messing with the landscape, but that moves, which means this one right here will move too. And I can feel it. I can nudge it, budge it a little. So this is like, looks like it might have been the top of the cave right here.
So as you saw then, in 2019, Sean confirmed that that rock was somewhat loose. Now, you know, he was giving it a bit of a nudge. I couldn't really see it move myself, but maybe if you use two hands and use a bit more force, maybe you could push it away. I guess it all depends, because this is what we're trying to understand. In the eyes of SB Vega's adventures, he thinks it's been chipped away. So some kind of equipment has been used to separate the rock from the other part. But in the eyes of Sean Horlacker, Sean thinks it's movable, that it's separate individual pieces put together. Now, okay then, if it is a bit loose, how loose? Very loose or just a little bit? Is it one of those things where you still need some kind of equipment to be able to like pry it open, to like give it an extra nudge? In the eyes of Jeff Clark, he believes that it's very heavy. He's been in the area as well. He's been up to the cave itself, and well, the supposed cave, and investigated it and looked at the rocks nearby and said that a black, dark rock like that would be pretty heavy to be carrying about. So that probably wasn't the case. If someone was there, or people may have given it a nudge or used some kind of tools to pull it away, and then it fell on the ground and rolled away. But then it was trying to understand, well, where on the ground is it? Because it's been hard to locate, but we'll get into that very shortly, okay? So that's interesting. Is there an argument against that it's down to nature, it's natural, that the rock ended up moving? I mean, if there was plants, roots, vegetation underneath that uplifted it, moved it that way with time, I could understand. But I don't really see any vegetation in that spot, and we will see it clearer up close in the next slide, right? Obviously, there is some vegetation above, unless the roots forced the rock out, but that rock is pretty heavy. And you look at the side of that rock wall, what we looked at earlier in this video, that was very crumbly, and yet there was still bits on there remaining from 2019 up to 2022, and that didn't break away, that didn't move. So why would a giant rock on here move then? Unless there was assistance by a human, right? Let's move on to the next slide. So this is the point of view from SB. getting up close to this supposed covered cave, the rock wall. Yeah, maybe when you do look at it from this angle, it doesn't look like an M cave now. But if you do like the lines, you start drawing the M symbol on it, it does show a bit clearer. Just for a reference point. As well for reference, down that way, following on, is going down Picture Canyon. Okay, the same way Kenny Veach went. What we can't see in this frame, parallel or adjacent, whichever wording, to this, further to the left on the other side of the canyon, you've got that other weird shaped cave, which we did debunk, just in case you were wondering. It's where Kenny was walking past here and said, somewhere cave-like here. Then he stopped a few steps ahead up there, then turned round and then looked on the opposite side of the rock wall and said, oh, over there. And then he moved on quickly. Some people claim there was eyes in there, some kind of creature stalking him. But when we did analyse the images and we kind of like enhanced them, there wasn't any creature. It was just like markings on the wall. Could have been shit, could have been more marks in the rock itself. Okay, and I did increase the brightness. If you do want to check all these videos out, the reference of that, the reference of the covered mine shaft, make sure to check the videos on my channel, all there, and the playlist too, right? But yeah, it's this area we're focusing on. You can clearly see a fair chunk is missing where it was slotted in but no longer there, and it's trying to understand, where is it at? Of course, let me know if you notice any other rock pieces that appear to be missing, right? Interesting. Let's go a bit closer. There we go, pretty much up close with it now. Might have a clearer image too. So the debate can be, and maybe we can do a poll right now. What could the poll be? Okay. On the conditions, do we need to make it on the conditions? Let's just do a general vague poll. I think it's easier. And then maybe we can follow up with another one. The poll question can be, do you agree that this missing rock was caused by humans or a human that tried and successfully broke the rock away? Maybe because they were interested, they wanted to try and get in, reveal something. Or do you think it was all natural, that the big heavy black rock rolled away, even though it was wedged in that like crevice? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to vote right now. I mean, oh, get rid of that. The rock itself on the side, like here, very dry, pretty crumbly. And maybe with time it becomes more crumbly, right? Because of the wear and tear. So maybe down the line, obviously years and years on, more could be revealed slowly, right? Might not lead to much, but just basing it off that. Yeah, can clearly see there is a fair piece missing there. And obviously when Sean was up close with it, it was all filled in. So this is now exposed and open. And you can also see some gaps down there, some loose rocks and pieces of it which have broken away. So could that have been caused by a person chipping away at the rock using a tool? Possibly. I mean, people said use a crowbar in the past, a pickaxe, a drill. I don't know, because you got to, you know what you also got to think is the distance you cover on the hike, the terrain, the quality, the dangers, the heat temperature. Do you really want to be lugging around really heavy duty equipment? Probably not. At best, a lightweight crowbar, possibly, but maybe that would be pushing it depending what other items you've got with you, you know. Though if there was a group of people, you could even out the load, the weight, possibly. So yeah, interesting. We've got a slightly closer look there. There we go. Just wanted to get different perspectives, you know, zooming on into the area. Up here, more crumbly. You see the different tones and colours within the rock. I guess that's normal, unless anyone else disagrees. If there is rock geologist here, you know, a time like this we need Jay Silverheels, but I've not really seen him that around. I feel, in my opinion, right, maybe the odd tool was used just as for a bit of assistance, but more so a human was involved, which caused this, what I would say. Because the way it's slotted in, the rock originally, it was firmly in place. But with Sean acknowledging and saying that it was a bit loose, there's that to take in mind. Though the counterpoint, what I would say, and to go along the lines of SB, the rock, like the surface of that. Okay, you see all those white lines, which are like the scars, the veins in the rock itself. But doesn't it look really smooth? Like that side, it's pretty rough and rugged, right? But why is that so smooth? Or pretty much mostly smooth? You get what I'm saying? On one side, it's very rough. On the other side, it's very smooth. What's caused that? Like, if you were chipping away at it, it would be a pretty rough job. It wouldn't be clean. It wouldn't be smooth. It would be rough and rugged, right? Though, if you're using like some kind of jackhammer, some kind of drill, and you were drilling down at a certain angle, creating like a line, a cut mark, and you've done it like in a straight line, you might get that smooth finish, smooth texture, right? So that could support the idea of some kind of equipment being used to chip away at it, maybe. Though, in the words of Jeff Clark, highly unlikely because it's too heavy and just not practical. Though, let's just remember one thing. And I've seen videos on YouTube where people have been breaking a massive rock boulder in half. And what they did, they used a hammer and chisel, or a sledgehammer and chisel, but they kept putting these like little chisels all the way down. They weren't using one at a time, they were like using multiple, and like, you know, wedging it in like a wedge in like all the way down in a straight line, and then kind of like a watermelon, it would eventually break open and crack. Do you know, like when you put lots of elastic bands around a watermelon and eventually it ends up like decapitating it? Kind of like that with the rock scenario, where they get like these wedges and put it in the gap of the rock or a certain area, and then repeat that several times, kind of like in a straight line. And with the wedges within pressed inside, it kind of like splits open the rock, and eventually they separate apart, and that's what creates that smooth finish, because it was done a bit more professionally, right? So does anyone else agree with that in the chat about that smooth surface there? It doesn't look like it's been scraped, chipped, broken when the other part of the rock was removed. There is loose bits there, but I think what we've got to remember, even in Sean's video, there was a few loose bits on top, even when the rock was originally there. Okay? It's a shame Kenny didn't like investigate and analyze in his hike this supposed covered up cave. Like if he had a closer look at it, because we only saw like a glimpse of it from the side. If he was able to go up close to it, and even that shallow keyhole one, yeah. I think the only other thing what I will say is, and I don't have it on screen right now, but I just feel like when Kenny walked past this, beforehand, that other shallow M-shaped looking cave, which is arguably the most M-shaped looking cave out there, right? Practically speaking as well. And yet Kenny didn't even refer to that. I mean, he said, oh, it's deep and it's dark. And then when he went past this part, then he said, somewhere like here. And you can interpret that however you want. But why did he not say somewhere like here a few steps beforehand, when he walked past a literal looking M-shaped cave, which has been used in many thumbnails over time on YouTube? You get what I'm saying? Anyway. So we've got that smooth finish. SB Vegas Adventures, let me know what you think about that. Why is it so smooth? Then why is that side not so smooth? Is that normal? Anyway, Then we've got this part here, which is basically up close, looking at that area, right? Just from a different angle. It's kind of hard to tell what's within. What I will do right now, because, you know, just so we keep it more uniformed with time and practical and appropriate, do a little poll right now. Okay, so make sure you've voted on the previous poll. Get your votes in right now. Start clicking away immediately before I end it. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. Okay. So, the next poll can be, would you like to see a shorter follow-up video of something like this, what we see on screen, and I try and enhance the image to see if we can look closer inside, to see if I can reveal anything? Would you like a video on that short one? Make sure to vote right now. Okay. So, to be honest, up close here, even that looks a little bit smooth, the face of it. And that is definitely smooth. You drag your fingers across that, it'll be feeling like, wow, has this been like, do you like when you get wood, right? If you sawn wood down, sometimes you can get like a smooth like finish, right? If you've sawn it correctly. And if not, you can get those additional tools just to sand it down, right? But all that was caused by someone, you know, manually doing it themselves and not natural. So it does make me think. It seems to reinforce the idea that a person was here and they were trying to get in. Did they get far? Not really, but they still had opportunity. And I'll get more into that later, right? Now, what we're looking at here is, if I just scroll back, is up there. SB did climb up here on top, and he was basically looking down at the ground, okay? So that's SB on top of the cave looking down, okay? Now, you know, even when looking at it from here, looking down at it, you can see the gaps where rock was. That's noticeable. You can see the cracks there and a few like loose stones wedged within, whatever that is. It does seem like, even though it is arguably natural rock formation, it does seem like individual pieces, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, I would say. I guess the other questions what we've had in the past was, how deep does it go? You know, you can see the cracks going all the way back here, right? There's a bit of depth. And as well, not far away, over that way, off screen, left-hand side, more to the left, down that way, is basically where those other two shallow caves are, one of which, nearby to this one, is the shallow one with the keyhole, a hole in the actual rock wall. You know, how deep is that? And I'll just say it right now. SB Vega's Adventures, hopefully you're listening. If not, I can reach out to you in other ways. Have you gone up to that shallow keyhole cave and investigated it? It's literally close to this one, just on the left, right? Have you gone inside? Like, even if it's natural and it's bees chewing away at the rock, let's say, I think Jay Silverheels concluded that in the past. It was more natural. It was by nature. Though the question is, how deep is it, right? If it goes in quite a bit, does that have any link to this supposed covered cave here, right? The deeper it goes, the more mysterious and suspicious it is, right? And I know that keyhole in the past, the reptilian eye, the mystery of that, whether you believe in it or not, that aside, there is clearly a hole there and it's quite dark. But how deep is it? What would be great is to get a camera to fit through and put the light on. I think that's probably, alongside with the investigation of this covered cave, that's the next important thing to look at. So, like, even if this was completely debunked and ruled out as anything special, what about that keyhole? How deep is it? How dark? Does it link on? Is there any tunnels within? Does it connect with the rock wall of this supposed covered cave? Because it's all on the same side of that rock wall going all the way down that canyon. So, you know, and the depth of it, does it descend or not? Many unanswered questions there. So there is a lot to still look at, right? So the other thing to point out, and I think it was more over there, out of frame, there was a rock or some kind of rock structure. And when Jeff Clark went in the past, I believe he came across a skull, the head of a skull, which was resting on one of the rocks. But it seemed unnatural, not like an animal would do it because of the height of it and the precision and the way it was put on. But then when Jeff Clark went in the future, it wasn't there anymore. Nowhere to be seen. Where was that? Jeff Clark, feel free to share your experiences if you wish to add on to that in the chat or comment section. What you'll start seeing, you know, whether you're a returning viewer or mainly a new viewer, welcome. There are many, many deep, dark mysteries in this area, right? Because what we've also got to acknowledge, further on the right-hand side, going down that trail, Picture Canyon, there was paranormal voices caught on camera by Kenny Veach's video, right? And I'm the only channel on YouTube to cover that and document it. And no one has talked about it ever since. This is what I mean. The lack of proactiveness, the lack of stamina, the lack of create noise, right? Dylan Round's case, somewhat successful. Kenny Veach case, lacking. Though, credit to SB Vegas Adventures, who, you know, arguably relentlessly, single-handedly carried this case ever since. And Jeff Clark with his comments too online, right? More noise needs to be created, right? So anyone watching this video right now, it would be much appreciated if you either liked the video or shared it with as many people as you can or as many people as you know. Because as some of you will relate, the way the Dylan Rounds case has gone is partially because of the noise created and keeping it alive. The same needs to happen with the Kenny Veach mcave case, because at the end of the day, it is a missing person, right? Just like Dylan Rounds. And Kenny, to some, is presumed dead, trying to find his remains. So you should be able to understand, kind of similar to Dylan Rounds, not as true crime, but as a missing person case, at least. Okay? So, with that aside, when you look at this like gravel sand pit, if you want to call it that, this is the only other area of interest, right? See those boulders, those rocks? They were never there. They weren't there in 2014, and from the looks of it, they weren't there in 2019, okay? Arguably, they could have been in 2021 at some point when Aquachiga went down there, but I couldn't quite get the correct angle. I think Jeff Clark might have referred to it and said, oh, I saw the odd rock on the ground, but not sure if it was the one. But at least from SB Vegas Adventures, he does show it much clearer, the image. He does pan around, which is a lot better compared to some what I've done, right? So just that little pit area. Is that little pit area suspicious to you? You know, it's like a little gathering spot, you know, a few rocks on the side. Is there much to it? Like a wash, a mini river, water passing on through? Like, let's say if you got heavy rain and like it flooded in the area, what would it do? Would it reveal anything of interest? Would it wash anything away? Any dirt, soil, excess stuff, move rocks about? Anyone confirm, right? Because, you know, if it's a bit of a little dip, you know, collects a bit of water, and if it's heavy rain, does it cause anything? Like, could rain get into these cracks, gaps, and flood the area from the inside? You know, just like random points like that to not just understand what we see like the cave or the supposed cave, but the environment, the ground around, does that tell a story itself? I mean, as with the Kenny Veach case, it wasn't about looking for track marks or footprints. It wasn't really the same situation, because not as many people have been, even over time. Like with Dylan Rounds, that's more people checking there. Though, as bold as what we see, depending which one, could you argue and say one of those belongs to the missing part here? But as we've seen with the slideshow pics, the coloured rocks have changed with time, so it could still be valid, right? We'll do a poll right now, okay? Do you think that some of the rock fragments found here in like the little gravel pit, do any of those rocks belong to the missing piece of the cave here? Any of them? Do the poll right now. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Do any of the rocks there look like they've come from that missing piece on the rock wall, the face of it? Let me know. I would say Jeff Claw had a point in the past, I guess, on maybe Aquachugger's video, but because of the angle I see this, it looks a bit too round for it to fit in that missing slot. It doesn't seem as long, not in the same way as I imagined, right? That looks a bit too smooth. Do you know that very tiny piece there? That very tiny piece there was in the same video as Sean's in 2019, right? That very small piece there. So that's not moved since. That one, I don't know about. That one, I'm not quite sure. This one appears to be slightly different coloured. It's got some cracks on it as well. Does it look damaged? Hard to tell. Like, if some kind of tools, equipment was used to chip away at that rock wall, it might have taken a bit of damage itself, the rock, and splintered, broke apart, crumbled down, depending. Hence why you see remnants, loose bits there, and also here as well, right? The rest of it may have rolled down to the ground. Now, if it hits the ground, the impact of it, is it going to cause a rock to crack? Not likely, unless it's very weakened to begin with, right? So, tumbled down, bum, 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 hit the ground, rolled down and fell and collected here. Is that a possibility? I just feel that the shape of it doesn't quite seem to fit. So, like, if that's not the rock piece, because it looks a little bit different, the shape of it, like if we compare to that one, where it's a lot darker, right? And it looks a bit bigger as well. If this rock here from 2019 isn't that, then where is it? That would be my question. Again, if this was the rock, the questions still are: who caused it? Why did they? Did they try any more? Did they give up too soon? Because they could have done more, right? If a person is responsible for it, then why not do more? Okay? You somehow managed to move a heavy rock, why not move the rest? Is it because they were thinking, oh, if we remove this, it'll create a massive gap, an opening inside? Though, obviously, it didn't. So the people were disappointed, frustrated, thinking, oh, well, that was a waste of time. Well, there's no point trying anymore. But this is the thing, right? You remove a bit of the rock. What are you met with? More rock? Kind of, but it's the same rock still. It's just kind of deep. What it does reveal is more cracks, gaps, and openings. And the main goal would be to create a big enough opening, a big enough crack, gap to look in, or even just to fit a camera in. Maybe the most practical solution is to not be disturbing any more rock and just to get a suitable camera in length and width, make it thin, slide it on in and see how far you can go. If you can attach a light, night vision, whatever it may be, that'd be good too. Then you would know the true depth. Because no one, I believe, no one has been able to successfully look all the way in because the gaps are a bit too small and hard to see through. So there needs to be a bit of better visibility or equipment that can do most of the work for you, right? So, on the ground there, let me know if that rock does belong to this rock wall here, okay? I mean, if it was a person, it must be someone or some people that have been watching my videos, Sean videos, Jeff Clark's videos, Scott Natal's, SB over time, right? You know, maybe they were intrigued themselves. They wanted to do it. They wanted to see for themselves, possibly. But there's a level of secrecy. We don't know who's responsible. And that's what creates more mystery. To some people, that might be a good thing. But to others, it's just more clutter, right? Someone or some people were definitely interested and had a motive to go out of their way to cover that distance, to get down here, cover all that distance, the time, the energy exerted moving that rock from the looks of it. Do we have any more? Yeah, so basically just to round things off, what we're looking at, this here on top, that there, that big rock piece, and the missing piece back here where the gap is basically where Sean was, okay? Maybe at a slight angle. You can clearly see from here, the gaps are quite big, right? So you could argue that the rocks were weakened, okay? Already weakened and a little bit unstable. Enough to hold in place because of the sheer weight of the rocks, but with a bit more force and done manually, you know, that assistance can help pull it away. But I did try lining it up as best as possible, so hopefully you can acknowledge that. I had to try and fill in the ground, okay, from approaching the cave and trying to fit it in with looking down at the cave. And as you can clearly see, there appears to be a white rock stone there, right, from 2019, which I believe is one of the two there, smaller ones, okay, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Though that big boulder there, as you see in 2022, does not appear in 2019. Can't seem to see it. And, you know, even when Sean was walking down the pathway, if you want to call it that, there was no rocks on the ground in sight, right? And it would make sense, because reality is, the rock on that rock wall wasn't missing in 2019, but it was a year or two on, right? So what I'll just do is I'll just leave it zoomed out for now, okay? As I said, the image on the left is the best angle I could get because SB climbed on top, which was good of him. I think he might have described it as like a ladder or something. But Sean didn't. Sean kind of raised the camera above his head to try and look down at it. So this is the best angle I could get for you. Hopefully it creates a bit of clarity to what we can see, right? Done a little arrow as well from where it could possibly be from. Yeah, like if the rock just simply isn't here and it's elsewhere, where did it go? And a previous theory I suggested was, could it be some kind of research group, some kind of authority, even military, testing the rock? You know, an original theory to this supposed covered cave was it was like chemical waste, military style dumping ground, toxic waste, all the chemicals being thrown in there deep down and then covered up to seal it. And then if it emitted gases, toxins, that could have led to Sean becoming ill at the time because he went too close to the cave. He may have inhaled the air coming out. He got too close to it, hands on the rocks, ears, face, nose, eyes. You know, could that have caused his sickness at the time? Possibly. I think Sean also said whilst he was out there, weeks after, once he got back, he ended up having some kind of weird thing in his shin, like a microchip implanted. seems a bit far-fetched and hard to believe. Or was it his head? It was one of the two, either his shin or head. I don't think he has his video on his channel anymore talking about that, but it was very strange, saying how something got him when he was out there, and later on it was still there. All these little mysteries and weird things going on in the background, right? It's not just one, it's many. That's the depth and mystery behind it all. But yeah, you just see what's on screen. Let me know your thoughts down below to what you think is the case here. I mean, tying on with what I said about if this is like some kind of toxic dumping ground, waste ground within that cave filled in. Maybe at some point authorities catched on or decided to go down there to check in on the area to make sure it was okay. Maybe they chipped away rock and took it away for testing to see if it was emitting any radiation or if it collected any from deep within. Though, if that really was the case, they've not filled it in since, so it can't be that important, meaning likely they probably didn't do anything like that. And I said, if that rock on the ground is from where it belongs, where it came away, then likely it was just a random person or group who were curious. Now, you could say, yeah, but not many people go. That's true. But the ones that do go for a reason, whether they document it or not. Is it someone we know of? You never know. SB kind of joked and said, was this you, J Chuck? Now, J Chuck, I feel, wouldn't do that. J Chuck is the type of person to be kind of spiritual and respect the environment. Not as hands-on, as some of us, not as rough or rugged, but he does cover a lot of distance and classified as a desert dog out there, but he doesn't start playing with the environment or causing too much, disturbance with it. Though, as we've seen in 2018, when previous we thought the mine shaft was altered with, broken, sabotaged, as we saw in Scott Natal's 2021 hike footage out there, and after that turned out, and they came forwards and answered publicly on YouTube, it was a group of guys, one guy had a beard, and some of us in 2018 went out there to go into the mine shaft, and they accidentally broke the ladder and some bits and bobs in between. They confirmed that. But for many years, it was a mystery, right? It was a mystery to some. But we eventually got answers because we created enough noise for answers. So that's what we need to do again. And maybe someone will come forth, even if it's private, right? I understand publicly, maybe you can't reveal it. But if someone is responsible and they can reach out privately and say, I did it, and explain why, and it's kept, out of public eye, out of respect for privacy, then feel free to do that, because it will help clear up a part of the case, right? You want some kind of clarity in the matter. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with this side-by-side comparison with the angles I had at the time. Fairly clear as well. Do I use it as a thumbnail? Maybe. I'll see about that. But as said, let me know your thoughts in general. Right, so as said at the start of this video, we need to check the comments out of the last Kenny video I did. Answer any questions. Look out for the new information, interesting comments, right? That's what we're doing right now, including the potential new mcave hiker going out there in the future. So let's see what's it all about. Linda Cushing, so I didn't get back in time, traffic, just finished watching, had the same problem, okay. Big V saying, keep in mind, time frame when it comes to the app being uninstalled, 2014 to present, someone literally had to keep the Messenger app updated due to all the new changes and app features since 2014. It wouldn't have worked unless someone physically went into Google Play, Apple Store, and updates the app, and then re-enter his email and password into his Facebook account after the app installed the updates. Also, most phones would be out of date, meaning too old for you to install the needed updates for the majority of apps to even open the app. Okay. Jeff saying, that's what I keep asking. Wouldn't tech changes, new devices, new IPs, software updates require someone to actively keep that account going. Google will block you out for simply changing your IP address. And I imagine that Facebook would be similar, especially over 8 years. A lot of changes over that time. Big V saying, my point exactly. Someone has to have always been actively keeping up with his social media and YouTube, not to mention what kind of phone did he have in 2014. Someone had to upgrade his phone. Most phones from 2014 aren't in productivity, and so many phone companies have merged and others don't even exist anymore. Also, Yahoo, AT&T, Google companies have had breaches in security systems, programs protecting users against hackers, database issues due to network fixtures, updates, bugs, etc. An example, MySpace losing so many old audio MP3 files, hence the reason music search won't allow many of the old songs to work. Didn't read before posting. Right, okay. See, this is the thing, from 2014 up to 2022, several years passing by. Yeah, maybe some apps become obsolete, some devices become obsolete. You need a later, newer device to be able to access certain apps and continue using them. And just in general, those apps with updates over time, you need to keep it on track. You need to keep it up to date over and over. So you might get locked out of this, you might get locked out of that. This might uninstall, that might uninstall. But let's just remember one thing. From 2014 up to a certain point in 2022, it was dead silence, radio silence. Then in November 2022, a phone call was made from Kenny's account, right? So someone after November, going into early 2023, yeah, around that period, then it was suddenly uninstalled, the app. And you could say, well, maybe because it's outdated, maybe you've been locked out because you've not used it ever since. So why is it from 2014 to 2022 before November, everything's normal, and then in between 2022 to 2023, when a phone call was made from Kenny's Facebook account, then suddenly there is change. Oh, then suddenly things are outdated. Oh, then suddenly things are obsolete. Why are they obsolete from 2022 to 2023 when from 2014 up to 2022 before November, the month, everything was perfectly fine, nothing was uninstalled or touched or altered with? How can it go for that long and there's no change, and then from 2022 to 2023 there is sudden change just because things are outdated now? Yeah, it's fucking 7-8 years on and there's been no change, but now there is. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Right? Weird. From 2014 up to a certain point in 2022, radio silence. Nothing from Kenny, nothing from his account. And then in November of 2022, for some reason, a phone call is made from his account to Susan Veach, the sister-in-law, on the Facebook Messenger app. What caused that? I can tell you from my experience, everyone that may have called me or attempted to, it was accidental, okay? On the odd occasion, it was meant, right? Not once have I been called and it was like a system error or some kind of glitch. That's never happened to me, okay? And even way back in the past, you know, maybe was it 2015, 2016, when I did have Facebook, briefly, Facebook Messenger, not once did I ever receive a call, whether it be from a friend or a stranger. Whether it was never accidental because I never even received a call to begin with, right? So let me summarize one more time. 2014 up to 2022, virtually radio silence. Nothing from Kenny, no changes to his Facebook account, no changes to his Facebook Messenger, nothing. Empty. November 2022, either a few days before or after Kenny Veach's birthday, which is a bit coincidental, then there is a phone call made from Kenny's account to sister-in-law, Susan. Bit odd, right? Maybe it's accidental. Could that tie in line with, after that, the app being uninstalled to try and remove those traces, right? The only reason why you would suddenly see change is maybe because a mistake was made earlier on and the scrambling thinking, oh shit, I need to get rid of this quick, right? If, let's put all that aside. If, let's say a different example, Kenny Veach's YouTube channel. When was it set up? 2012 or something? I don't know. No, let's say Facebook. It's easier that. Yeah, Kenny Veach's Facebook set up in 2012. He got hacked in the early days, so maybe that's a telling sign somewhere. But he managed to retrieve his accounts back and it was fine in the end, I guess. But from 2012, his Facebook account up to present day, it's still public. It's still viewable. It's not been shut down. It's not really been locked out. Photos still there and, bits and bobs. Technically, it's been inactive for a very long time, and yet it's still there. Kenny Veach's YouTube channel. Can't remember when it was set up, but from 2014 up to present day, channel's still there, videos still there, adverts placed on them. So, inactive, but still present, right? Updates or not, old devices or not, still there. And what you got to take in mind, if you're under that idea of the 2018 Las Vegas Reiki healing enchanted forest break-in at nighttime, sometime at 2018, which looked like Kenny breaking into the healing store, which is a Veach family-run healing store, okay, by one of Kenny's sisters, right? Got in. Kind of looks like Kenny in a way, depending on how you look at it, and the aspect ratio. It's in question, of course. Jeff Claw has done it as well, where he's kind of like debunked it in terms of the facial structure, the up close, the scale of it, the ratio. It doesn't match with Kenny. But, if you're looking at it from the outside, you're looking at first time impressions and you've got your own ideas, right? Everyone's got their own opinions, believes it's Kenny. And the person just so happens to steal an iPad. Yes, they stole an iPad. Could that be the new device down the line? Okay, Kenny's phone back in 2014, discarded near the mine shaft. What did he use ever since then? Maybe a burner phone, maybe some other device. In 2018, possibly getting a hold of that iPad and then using that down the line to be able to access this and that, right? Because it's a bit more up to date. Different possibilities, right? Let's move on. Glenn, sorry I missed the live again. Had to drive into town. They pretty much takes all day. Understandable. David Bell, very possible. Thought all along the whole thing was a hoax by Kenny and possibly family members. No proof, no real reason for it, nothing to gain. Well, the gain could be peace and quiet, a fresh life, a new page, a new chapter. That's one way of looking at it. Ultimately, if you really want to know the motive, you got to confront Kenny. But is that practical? No. Is it possible? No. Let's move it. D, nicely. Too many unrelated contents off topic. Speaking rather slowly and hard to follow the facts versus repeated wording. Pick up the tempo and don't repeat the same info over and over. This will hold the interest of the viewers. Don't worry, D, nicely. I've got over 3.2 million views on my channel and 200 plus thousand watch hours. So, enough people are watching and okay with what's going on. The key to words being repeated is to highlight the boldness of them because there is a meaning behind it. There is depth, right? You go along with the repetition for a direct reason. It creates more memorable lines. People remember it better. People internalize it better. It shows like you're consistent. If you're frequent, you're consistent. People are more likely to listen to you. And if people are more likely to listen to you, they will stick around. And that's what will show statistically speaking. So D, nicely, you look like the type of individual that hasn't contributed to the case whatsoever. Just a whingy, whiner, bitching on. Carry on doing that, okay? Let's continue. Smooth fishing. Yes, Kenny never had adverts on his channel before. Someone had to add them in there, I think, anyway. Yeah. Sunny Productions. My comment about the hair was not about Lance's. Yeah, okay. Right, we'll look at that in a second. Knowing YouTube's dirty tricks and advertising practices, they probably put ads on inactive accounts so they don't have to pay anyone but still meets the advertiser's minimum hit count requirements. Jeff Clark. Yeah, I don't find these software changes and glitches to be that mysterious, as we all have this shit happen with our own accounts. It's usually update issues. There's obviously someone in control of Kenny's YouTube account, but all these other issues just seem like zombie accounts doing weird things with updates. I mean, so you're acknowledging that someone is behind Kenny's YouTube account. Well, if they're behind Kenny's YouTube account, then they could be behind Kenny's Facebook account. Kind of linked together in a way. If you know one, you probably know the other, right? And why would you have access to the YouTube? What's the point there, right? There'll be a point there for a reason, which we don't ultimately know of. And maybe that correlates to Facebook too. You never know. Now, apologies about my fast reading. It's just because I've got to be eating shortly, so I've got to take that in mind. JBK Camping Adventure. Good say, sir. I'm going up to Pitcher Canyon and the Kenny Beach Mine. Would you like me to video anything for you between those two areas? I'm going to do the 11-mile hike over 2 days and take my time to roll a lot of video. Is there anything particular you would like me to video that would help you with your Kenny Beach stuff? Well, just before going to Pitcher Canyon, first of all, you go over Wild Horse Pass and you turn left, and then that's going west to go to that covered mcave, which we've seen in this video and covered. Just before that, on the rock wall, that shallow cave with the keyhole. If you had the correct equipment, like a camera, to be able to fit it in, or even if you had a stick or your finger, shove it in that hole appropriately and see the depth of it. I think that's a main focus to it, right? And as well, if you are around the area, see if you can see any rocks on the ground which belong to the covered cave, like where it fell from. Anything else? Not from what I know of. I mean, the sword and tent location is a little bit more north, though when Scott went, the tent was completely gone. So I don't think there's any need to go back there unless you think so. Jeff Clark, cool. Are you going down into the mine? If you are, you can search every inch of that crystal skull. Get more lighting, even if your battery's drained. We're not really sure if it was just knocked to the ground by falling debris or if something took it. I have really good lights. I'm going to try go down there with a ladder with some safety ropes, get a real good video, good lighting. So if you've got good lighting, that could work with the covered cave and the shallow keyhole cave. Put the lighting in, see if we can look into that hole, the depth of it, get to the bottom of that, because it's not really been debunked ultimately. And also just look for skulls, like any odd looking skulls placed on rocks nearby along that 11-mile hike journey. Look out for that too. Jeff saying, good idea to use a rope as the wood looks worse every year. True. Last open question about that mine is the crystal skull and what happened to it from the comparisons I've made with my own and SB Vegas pictures of that north wall. I estimate that the skull to be about the size of a golf ball or slightly larger. If you find it laying on the floor, please recover it and post detailed pictures. I've wondered for a long time if Kenny put that there, if it came from his sister's crystal store. If so, it was missed clue from the first days of the search. Atari thought it was a clue as well in the past, but it's faded with time. I mean, don't know if Sean Horlacker has ever talked about the crystal skull. He was there in 2015, but he didn't go into the mine shaft, which is unfortunate. If someone went into the mine shaft 2015, just a year on after Kenny's disappearance, would have been interesting to see if it was there. Now, Really Robin, the fake Really Robin alt account, completely different person, imposter, claimed that in 2017, I believe, just before Jeff Clark's visit down there for the first time, that Really Robin put the crystal skull down there as a clue. Now, very likely BS, and it was a fake account too, but I just wanted to add that in as a reference point, okay? So, if people need to generate ideas, places of interest to check out for, who is it again? JBK Camping and Adventures, list it down below, bullet point it. If we need to start new threads, discussions, we can do that. Okay, so I did speak a little bit quicker than usual. Sorry, Miss T, you probably have to turn it from ×2 to ×1 for a change because I did talk quick, but I'm in a hurry. Fast end deadlines to be hit left, right, and centre. Multitasking more than ever, and to be honest with these videos firing off left, right, and centre, I said I was supposed to be taking a break, and every time I say I'd take a break, I end up stepping the level and stamina up even more. Not practical, I know, I'm aware, but this video needed to be done, and more so now than ever. Tying in with the comments, what we just looked at there, those comments, very interesting. That Camping and Adventures channel, interesting, just popping up now. If he is a new hiker, make sure to welcome him and go back on that previous video to start discussions with him if possible, okay? And that camping guy, if you're here right now, add some comments down below if you wish to, if you need to say anything else, or if you got any other questions, and then we go from there, okay? So hopefully it's all under control. If you have suddenly joined, rewind back to the beginning. That is very necessary to understand the whole picture of this video. And in general, for anyone who's got questions, their own thoughts, their own ideas, and additional information, list it all down below in the comment section, and make sure to spread awareness on this very important video in general, okay? So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Maybe you've learned something new. We'll see what happens next. We'll see which case to look at, Dylan or Kenny. Time will tell. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Goodbye and good night for now.